Today we are bringing all of the MMA and UFC news straight to you with timestamps, by the way, if you'd like to skip to any particular part of the video. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels, and welcome back to everything that you missed in MMA this week. This is where we go through all of the news, whether it's something that everybody heard about regarding Conor McGregor or a fight between two fighters that you've never heard about before. We're going to talk about all of the news in today's video, and again guys, timestamps are there in the chapter bar, description, pinned comment down below. Any one of those if you'd like to skip to any particular part of the video. Let's get started. I want to start off with Drew Dober today. So Drew Dober was talking about his next fight because he just got a big win, and I'm a big fan of Drew Dober. I love watching this dude fight. So he said that Dustin Poirier is his dream fight, and first of all, oh my god, would that be an absolute banger. I don't even know who would win that fight. Really, like, that's why it's so intriguing. But man, anyways, to be realistic, he said that he either wants to fight Jalen Turner, Paul Felder, or Dan Hooker. I like all of those matchups, to be honest with you, except like maybe the Paul Felder one because I'm a big Paul Felder fan. I wouldn't like to watch two guys that I'm big fans of, especially their fighting style, go against each other. So I'd be here to see Jalen Turner or Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker versus Drew Dober would be an absolute banger. I would love to see that, but man, I would love to see him fight Dustin Poirier more than anything. Got a really quick piece of news after that. Jake Collier has been cut from the UFC. To be honest with you, in my opinion, this is a little bit of a long time coming. He doesn't necessarily belong at the top of the heavyweight division, so nothing you can do, but I wish him the best. Speaking of UFC fighters being out, though, Curtis Blaydes is out of his fight against Jailton Almeida next weekend. And guys, or not next weekend, excuse me, but oh my god, I was so looking forward to that fight. That was the perfect matchup for Jailton Almeida. I would have loved to see who was going to win that grappling matchup, but thankfully, Jailton Almeida is still the card because Derek Lewis has stepped up, and man, that's going to go one of two ways. Jailton Almeida might take him down, and Derek Lewis will use the Derek Lewis stand-up technique that we all know and love, or Derek Lewis is going to KO him, or Jailton Almeida is going to just absolutely grind him on the ground like he has done lately. Still interesting matchup. Derek Lewis always adds some excitement to the UFC or whatever card that he's on, so I'm okay with this, but I would have loved to see the technical battle between Blaydes and Almeida and who would win on the ground. I would love to have seen that. Next up, so Dana White actually announced Sean Strickland's next fight, and it's going to be the winner of the newly announced, and we're going to talk about that, Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev. They're fighting at middleweight, and whoever wins that at middleweight is actually going to get to fight Sean Strickland. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with the Israel Adesanya rematch because Dana was very adamant about Adesanya getting a rematch. Very interesting, but I love this. I love this idea. Respect to Usman for going up to middleweight. If he wins this fight, I don't care. Give him a title shot. Khamzat Chimaev, he has been long overdue for a title shot because his dude has been railing through the divisions, looking great. I understand like they didn't necessarily meet the fight requirements to get a title fight, but I would love to see either of these guys on a title fight. They are very hi Sunny, my puppies here. They are very technical in what they do, and I'd be down to see it because you know both of these guys could very well fight a title fight. You can fight against Sean Strickland, and I don't know what she's doing, but she's gonna, I guess, record this little section with me. I don't know who would win. I think Sean Strickland would beat Kamaru Usman in a rematch, but Khamzat Chimaev, that is really interesting when it comes to matchup, you know what I mean? So no matter where that goes, I'd be totally okay to see that. But let's move on to the next section, and that is actually the UFC 294 card changes. We've seen it. It has been everywhere in MMA. Oh my god, I can't believe they actually went through this. So Costa and Oliveira are out. I'm so disappointed in Paulo Costa, man. I'm sick of that guy canceling on fights. But anyways, Volkanovski has stepped in to fight Islam Makhachev on 11 days notice, I believe it was. And now we have Kamaru Usman stepping up to take on Khamzat Chimaev. This card got infinitely better, man. This card got so much better. I'm so looking forward to those fights. I talked about it in other videos, man. I have a hard time seeing Volkanovski winning, and definitely not Kamaru Usman. He's not winning that fight, but hey, the upsets have been crazy this year, so crazier things have happened. I'm just so excited to watch this card now. Next up, probably the biggest piece of news besides the UFC 294 card changes this week, so I'll talk about them in the same section. USADA is no longer going to be with the UFC come January 1st, and of course, the big talk about this is Conor McGregor. He just submitted his USADA paperwork, he's back in the testing program, and then all of the sudden, the UFC is parting ways with USADA. Man, Conor McGregor, they must make them that much money if they're parting ways with USADA. The MMA Guru actually made a really good video about this, and he was talking about, like, we got to pay attention to see what happens after who the UFC signs with next, because if it's some no-name organization, you know, the UFC is just using them for influence, just like USADA. But there's some other drug testing agency that some people want to see, and it was somebody that GSP was really advocating for. My apologies. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but that way they could, if the UFC signed with somebody significant like that, maybe they would have a little bit less influence. I'm of the opinion that no matter what, they're going to have some influence, but there's nothing you can do. So the UFC is parting ways with USADA. Conor McGregor is going to fight all jacked up. It's going to be just like the Brock Lesnar situation, but I was kind of assuming this would happen either way, but that's been the talk lately. Next up, guys, of course, the last episode of the Contender series just went down, and it was a really, really great run this season. I'm sad that it's over. I loved watching the fights on Tuesday nights. But anyways, so the contenders that have been signed have been Lucas Rocha, Markel Medeiros, Connor Matthews, Andre Lima, and Ramon Taveras. Now, the only one that I'm particularly interested in to see how far they can make up the division, don't get me wrong, like these are all great signings. I liked Dana White's choices this week, but Andre Lima, I'm a little bit confused about because he looked really good, but his opponent didn't want to fight. So I'm like, this dude has some wild kicks, some great technique. He was so patient, throwing one shot out of a time. Sonny, no, sorry, my dog is trying to get up on me again. But it's going to be really interesting to see how he ends up competing and stacking up in the division because actually he like throws everything into his kicks. Kind of reminded me like not the technique that Edson Barboza uses, but you know when you watch a guy kick and it's like everything into it? I'm interested to see how that guy matches up with some people in the division, but regardless, sad the Contender series is over. Nothing you can do. I'll wait for it next year. Now, guys, I do want to take you over to Reddit before we close out the video for today because I want to add the top trending Reddit posts to these videos because I also have another channel talking about gaming in Fortnite, and I have the everything that you missed in Fortnite news that I do with these same videos, and in it, I post what was trending, the top posts in the UFC or that other case, Fortnite BR, that whatever's posting in the subreddit people are talking about, and I want to add to the videos there, and it was really a raging success, so I want to continue doing that with this, so I won't talk about that too much, but anyways, we're going to be taking a look at whatever has been trending in the UFC subreddit this week, and it's starting off with, everybody said Conor couldn't beat USADA, but it just happened, and it's just the post, and this is one of the most commented on, one of the most upvoted posts of the week, and it's so true, man. I was always of the opinion, I don't want to sit here like, oh my god, I knew Conor McGregor was going to do that, but like Conor has too much influence. He makes too much money. I knew he was going to beat USADA, and it's so true. Like, it's so true. They actually got rid of USADA, and it's probably because of Conor McGregor. That is crazy to me. But there is one more post I wanted to take a look at for today, and it's just LMAO. I feel bad for Duplessis, and it's, of course, Usman and Chimaev getting the next title fight. The winner of that fight will be fighting Strickland. Dricus Duplessis deserves a title fight because who else is beating a prime Robert Whittaker? Who else is dominating prime Robert Whittaker? He made Robert Whittaker look like he didn't belong with him in there. He deserves a title fight. He's put together a very nice win streak. The dude has been looking unstoppable. I don't even, like, as much as I want to see him fight Adesanya, you got to give him the title fight. You have to, but now he's getting completely passed up. So you know what? Maybe we will see Duplessis versus Adesanya, but I truthfully do feel bad for him because he does deserve a title fight, in my opinion. Now, guys, for the fight announcements this week, there hasn't been a lot of fight announcements, but there's a couple bangers on here. Anyways, in particular, I'll just go through them. There's just not a lot of fights that are really announced, besides the UFC 294 fight card changes that we've really had. But anyways, Randy Brown is going to take on Muslim Sadikov on December 16th. That whole card is just getting better and better, and that is a great fight to put on. And a fight that I'm actually kind of interested in, and to be honest with you, the rest of the world's going to be interested in. But I promise you, with all my heart, I'm not just interested in this fight because of how the fighters appear. It's Jillian Robertson versus Polyana Viana. I actually think that's a good matchup for the division. I really do. And typically, I'm not interested in that division. But hey, you know what? Maybe it's just the subconscious talking there. But anyways, Weston Wilson versus Gabriel Santos is on January 13th, excuse me. And Victor Hugo is going to take on Daniel Marcos on November 4th. Santos has pulled out. Usually we have more fight announcements to talk about, but that's all I got for you this week. But anyways, Randy Brown, Muslim Sadikov, I love that fight. That's a great fight. So regardless, the UFC 294 fights, Volkanovski, Islam, oh my god, and Usman versus Chimaev. Fights that we've wanted to see for a very long time. That is the talk of the fight announcements this week, guys. But guys, before I get you out of here, I do want to talk about the fights to watch this weekend. It's a little bit of a slow week when it comes to MMA in general, but if you're interested, you have the Dylan Dennis versus Logan Paul freak show that's going on. You could always watch that, but of course, you have the Edson Barboza versus Sadiq Youssef card. I believe I said that backwards, but regardless, the card is very stacked for a fight night. I'm particularly extremely excited to see Jonathan Martinez fight. Him against Adrian Yanez is going to be an absolute banger, but there are some great fights on the card. So don't miss that one. UFC is pretty much the only one that I'm going to be watching this weekend. I don't know if I'm going to tune into Dylan Dennis. Who knows? But regardless, I'll be watching UFC for sure, guys. With that being said, though, puts an end to the video for today. Guys, if you are new here, we have this video coming out every single Friday where I keep you up to everything in the MMA world. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. On the screen right now, if you'd like to continue watching the Clenbat channel because we have lots of videos, check them out. One of the screens will be on here if you want to keep watching the channel. I will see you either there or in the next video, guys. Take care.